Now, did you hear that recording in progress note? Excellent. So we are now recording in progress with the Tenants Organization of Montclair. We're an advocacy group started for rent control. So today's video featuring myself, Ahava, I'm the president, AhavaFelicidad, and we have Jasmine, who is interning with us.
Hello.
We would like to just cover an FAQ that was a written document that I actually requested be prepared by, at the time, our first VP. Now we have our first VP will also be in a founder and inducted again as a VP. There are many VPs joining the Tenants Organization of Montclair who are leads, leaders, or chairs in their building or multifamily homes. And so at the time, our first VP, who is a VP and a founder now, is Tony Martin, was asked to put this FAQ together to answer some questions that came right away when the rent control ordinance was fully approved. And the questions were prepared with answers by Mitch Kahn, who's the director of organizing for the New Jersey Tenants Organization. So we just double checked answers with him to make sure everything was right. We do have a process of anytime interns or volunteer run a video of the tenants' rights manual, that those are approved before they post to YouTube. We have approval processes for mostly everything that we do. Make sure that we're getting you guys the right information. Now, the footnotes that we'll read at the end, that's what I call them. I created those and just did whatever editing to the document that was needed to send it out on email first. And it was shared to and created because of requests from some online news reporters that brought more questions. So questions were being asked and they needed to be answered more immediately. So our FAQs are some expected and then some already asked questions. And Jazz, you can go ahead and start.
Okay, so question. My landlord sent me notice that my rent goes up 6% June 1st. Is this right?
So that example of June 1 is just an example because we're now recording this on July 3rd. And the rent control went into effect on May the 9th, that evening. So the first part of the answer, we have a letter A. Before you sign a new lease for an increased rent, you need to know these things.
1. Did your landlord register the property with the Montclair Township?
All landlords must register their properties by July 10, or they may not impose any rent increases.
2. Did your landlord raise rent at any point since May 2022? If so,
I got that one.
Okay.
If so, that violated the town's pandemic-related moratorium on rent increases. If unlawful increases were charged, then your landlord must roll back the rent to what it was as of May 2020. And then they may charge an increase of up to 4%. It is not a requirement. The landlord is not allowed the one-time only increase of 6% under the ordinance.
3.
Now, I feel like we should repeat that one.
Okay.
I think we're going to do that one again so that they don't have to rewind it. Go ahead and read that question again.
Sure. Did your landlord raise rent at any point since May 2020?
If so that means if during the freeze, your landlord raised the rent is supposed to get rolled back to what it was at the time of the freeze. We want all and full clarity on that. That's a part of the ordinance. If the rent was not charged, where are we? I don't want to skip to that part. Yeah, if they didn't violate the freeze, so if unlawful increases were charged, the landlord has to roll back the rent and then can charge up to 4%, not up to 6%. And we are going to get to the exception for seniors. Go ahead, Jess.
Are you or is any listed tenant on your lease age 65 or older?
The permitted increase for seniors is 2.5% now and going forward. So
do
the
I
4%,
now have, oh,
hold on.
go
So
ahead.
with the permitted increase for seniors is 2.5. That's it. It's not 4 and it's not 6. So whether there was a violation or not doesn't change the rate for seniors going forward at 2.5%. I just want to make sure I have clarity on that, because it's not it's not in the rest of the sentence here. Just to make it clear for everyone that that's a 2.5 max for seniors, period. Whether the lease was violated or not during the rent freeze moratorium, there cannot be an increase of more than 2.5% for seniors now and going forward. Okay, yes. Next one.
Okay. Do I now have a new lease renewal date?
Yes. Your annual renewal date is the anniversary of the date of your new lease agreement.
My rent is paid through a portal. Do I still have to sign a new lease?
Yes. Your landlord may send a copy of the new lease and terms via the portal. The landlord must also advise you in writing by certified mail that you must agree to the new lease or vacate. But you do not have to sign a lease that you think is unreasonable or has unreasonable changes. If you think this has occurred, consult the town's temporary rent control officer, Brian Scantlebury, an assistant town manager also, and or the town attorney, Paul Esquire.
Does my landlord have to raise my rent by 6%, 4%, or 2.5%?
No, the new ordinance provides a cap on how much rent can be raised in a year. It is not required that a landlord or owner ever raise the rent.
What about parking and pet fees?
Pet fees are not covered under the ordinance. Parking that is a part of your rental agreement falls under the same percentage increase limits as your rent. If parking is provided by a separate agent, then the ordinance does not apply. So I want to give clarity on this one because we've gotten questions in person about this. So pet fees are not covered under the ordinance, but your parking that is a part of your rental agreement is included in the base rent number. So in the cap of 4%, in the cap of the 2.5, only if your parking is with a separate entity or agent, it would not apply. Otherwise, your parking included in your rent is included in your cap. So your rent is $1,800 and it can't be more increased more than the 4% cap. That $1,800 would include your parking. And that's still the same guideline, the same rule, the same law.
How do I follow up with a complaint about an illegal rent increase during the freeze or a landlord's failure to register with the town?
If your landlord illegally raised your rent during the freeze, May 2020 to May 20 of 22, You as the tenant should notify the landlord of his or her violation of the freeze in writing via certified mail return receipt and regular mail. And also state that the tenant, you the tenant, will deduct the overcharges from future rent. You can inquire about the Montclair Township Landlord Tenant Committee writing a letter on your behalf. So you can inquire about that. That's not a rule right now. Once the Rent Control Board is up and running, and at the time of this recording of this video, the officers have been selected except for one. And by the time you all view this video, everyone should be in place. The Rent Board, once it's up and running, probably within the next week, you can file a complaint. There are also steps to take regarding a landlord's failure to register a property with Montclair Township. Yes.
Please note, the Tenants Organization of Montclair, TOOM, leaders will continue to meet with the individual tenants who face issues with their landlords. These tenants should join TOOM and are encouraged to come to or make an appointment for our training and orientation sessions. TOOM is not authorized to give legal advice, but can help with resources, guidance, and understanding the handbook chapters as they apply to each individual or organized building and situation. Joining is required for access to us in any virtuals or meeting-only workshops. We are all volunteers making a conscious choice to help in our community. You can reach us at 973-936-8848. Our Google Voice and email is tenantsorganizationmontclair@gmail.com.
Yeah, I know. I just switched that up because I was like, you were going to read I was going to do the please note and you were going to do the TOOM one. So I just want to reiterate for all of you that joining us is required for access to us, yes, and also to any virtuals for members, members only workshops, because we do ensure and guarantee that only members are going to be on the virtuals. Even for this next 6-month schedule of July through December, those meetings will be posted to Facebook. We have all of our flyer templates ready as of the time of this video to fill in the locations for the meetings. We do often look for places where there's more ample parking. We have a balance of members who may walk to locations. We do the best we can with choosing locations that we know that when we go inside, there's space for seating without having to make a reservation. So just keep that in mind, and that also, as a volunteer org, we're not paying for event spaces or rental spaces at this time. So we do meet in spaces where we can meet for free. And oftentimes we'll have a sponsor regular coffee and tea for our members who come to the meetings to find out more. Sometimes they come to a project like Tea from TOOM to fill the little food pantries around town. But you definitely do have to be a member to come to a virtual to get access. But you don't have to already be a member to come to an in-person meeting. And you can also be an interested and supportive homeowner. Homeowners do engage neighbors and do education and disseminate. Also set up and do membership with us. Our homeowners committee is very strong in supporting and talking to neighbors, going out door to door, even during the pandemic. Thank you all, everyone who's helped with this movement. So you don't have to just be a tenant to join the Tenants Organization of Montclair. We do have a homeowners committee, and the responsibilities, you decide, how much you can do. And we appreciate all the help that we can get. Again, that number is 973-936-8848. It will translate to Google Voice, so your voice recording will be saved in the Tenants Organization Montclair Gmail, and then it's also transcribed, written for us, like closed captioning. But we can hear that audio, just so that everyone's clear on that. And the last thing I wanted to say is like what was at the bottom of this email. Yes, Montclair has rent control, and we have an acting rent control officer. And that is Brian Scantleberry, and this is for rent control. Also, questions about rent control only. Remember, you have the rent board now, and then also the landlord tenant committee, and reaching out to TOOM and other resources we provide for you. Reaching rent control is rent control, RENTCONTROL at montclairnjusa.org. That's montclairnjusa.org. So rent control at montclairnjusa.org. And visit the township website for the ordinance summary, the link to the actual ordinance, so you can read through that. We've been notified that a link to the tenants' rights handbook that we share with you through our meetings as well should also be on the website soon, so that if you're on the township website, not only should be able to access the rent control ordinance, but also your tenants' rights manual. Tenants' rights manual doubles as an owner's manual. If you're an owner or a landlord, you should know what your tenants' rights are. And any tenants become owners or landlords, and some owners and landlords may at times also be tenants. Okay, so that's everything. I want to thank you, Jazz, as one of 3 active interns who've been helping with the movement over the past year, some 2 years. Shout out to Trevor, who does videos and our flyers, and Amanda, who is now away, who's done a lot with mailings and also running videos, and Jacob, who's back on to do some graphic design work and flyers. And that's our timer, guys. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. And thank you again.